Hello, it's Gordon here. Hope all is well with you. And this Facebook Live I've called Doing What at 15? And I'm talking sport, I'm talking tennis, I'm talking Wimbledon, and I'm talking about Cori Gauff, Coco Gauff, who is a 15-year-old American tennis player. And she is about to go on court today, very shortly actually, within the next hour or so, or less than that, to play Venus Williams. And Cori Gauff got to the Wimbledon tournament through the qualifying event. And she is the youngest person since 1968, the youngest person in the whole Open era at Wimbledon to qualify for the tournament. Unbelievable. 15. And I always think, wow, what was I doing at 15? You think about what you were doing at 15. Was I a confident person at 15? Yes and no. I was very shy. I was going through academia quite happily and successfully, but I wouldn't have done anything outside that world. Anything on an individual basis. Confidence there, no. I wouldn't have said so at all. 15! Coco Gauff, the youngest player since 1968 to qualify for Wimbledon. Now, people have been there before her. She's not the youngest player to have played at Wimbledon. If you look at Andrea Jaeger, way back in the 80s, I remember watching because I'm not 15 anymore, clearly. Andrea Jaeger was the youngest player to be seeded. She was seeded at 15 years of age at Wimbledon, so she didn't have to qualify. And while I'm thinking about Andrea Jaeger, here's a little story. She got to the final in 1983. She was 18 by then, but she looked about 12, and she had a massive argument with her dad in the flat where they were staying about coaching and training, and her dad locked her out of the apartment. Right, this is on the night before the Wimbledon final. So where did Andrea Jaeger go? She went round and knocked on the door of Martina Navratilova, who she was playing in the final. And Martina relates the story since and said, I couldn't believe it. There was the night before the Wimbledon final, and there was a knock on the door, and it was my opponent in tears saying, can you help me? I've been locked out of my flat by my dad. Unbelievable. And anyway, Martina Navratilova walked all over her and absolutely mullered her in the final. That's a little Andrea Jaeger story, who was seeded at Wimbledon at 15. And then if you look at 16-year-olds, Martina Hingis, she won Wimbledon at 16. In the same year that she also won Australia and also won the US Open. So Martina Hingis won 3 majors in the same year at 16. And thinking about Cori Gauff, who's just about to play Venus. And it's unbelievable really, because Cori Gauff said she idolised Venus Williams growing up. So her first time at Wimbledon, who's she playing? 5-time champion Venus Williams. It's amazing, isn't it? So it goes nice and full circle. And Venus Williams, of course, there's a story about the Williams sisters, coached by their father their father Richard Williams, who is a bit odd, but decided that very young that his 2 girls were going to be professional tennis players and were going to win Wimbledon. Wrote out a 78-page plan of how it was going to be done, and then ended up coaching them himself. It almost doesn't bear thinking about it, sort of Hollywood stuff. But it happened in real life. And Venus won 5 times, is still playing now at 39. And when Venus exploded onto the scene, her dad Richard said, yeah, Venus is good, but watch out for her younger sister Serena, she's even better. And everyone said, yeah, Richard, yeah, you're a bit odd. And then Serena came through. Unbelievable what that lot are still doing. And you think about Boris Becker, who won the men's Wimbledon at 17, unseeded. Again, unbelievable. And he brought something different to the game. He brought this sort of jumping and diving around the court, which hadn't really been done before in the men's event. And Martina Hingis, when she won at 16, she had brought, well, I'm going to show you the move, not that I know anything about tennis, but what she'd done, what she brought was a full body twist to the points. So rather than just the arm twist, she brought a full body twist, which generates a whole lot more power. And that was the hallmark of her game. And Martina Hingis, Czech-born to parents who both played tennis, and she was named after Martina Navratilova. So her path was pretty much laid out for her. If she had the talent and put in the work and wanted to do it, she was always going to get fairly far in tennis. And Venus and Serena were coached by their dad, Richard, who had decided for them that they were going to be Wimbledon champion, and they started playing when they were sort of 4, something like that. Fascinating. And I just, that wouldn't have even been in my comprehension as a 15-year-old myself. Now let's see, I was 15 in 1981. Is that right? Yeah, I was I was 15 in 1981, so I was still watching McEnroe and Borg and all that kind of stuff. The thought of actually playing in a tournament just I couldn't have even comprehended that. And if you think of the world number 1 at the moment in the women's game, Ashley Barty, she was a teenage prodigy. But she got burnt out by the pressure of all the travelling and all the time spent alone. And she stepped back and walked away from tennis and went into cricket. And was playing cricket at a professional level before she decided to have another look at tennis. And came back into tennis without the pressure, because she knew that she could walk away. Came back without the pressure, got to world number 1, and has just won the French Open. So it doesn't always work for the team prodigies. For all the team prodigies that I've just spoken about that get to the top, well, I could count those on 2 hands, probably on 1 hand. So for all of them that are the stories, how many hundreds are there that didn't make it? How many thousands are there that didn't make it? If you look at the British players on the women's side, look at Laura Robson, who a few years ago won the girls' junior title at Wimbledon, and everyone said, oh, she's the great new hope of Britain's women's tennis. And she did okay first couple of years, then had injury problems, and now she's sunk like a stone, and she's nowhere in women's tennis. And when Laura Robson won the girls' title, the girls' junior title at Wimbledon, people were comparing her to Annabel Croft, who was the previous British girls' winner of the junior title and never went on to really do anything as a senior. And people said, oh no, it's going to be different for Laura Robson. It hasn't really been different, it's sort of gone the same way. So that shows how difficult it is to get to that top. You don't do it just by being a teenage prodigy, it has to be converted into the senior ranks. So clearly I'm not going to be the youngest player ever to play at Wimbledon. Those days have gone for me. That horse has long bolted, and it was never going to happen in the first place. It never was a horse, it was a pony, and a small pony. Is that working, those analogies? But think about what you can do. However old you may be at the moment, in the 5 key areas of life, as I like to call them, health, wealth, career, relationships, lifestyle, what can you do? Might be easy to identify what you can't do, what the days have gone, it's past that for you. But what can you do? What can you still do in the future? And what can you do right now? That's the kind of idea that struck me as I thought about Cori Gauff, who's about to play Venus Williams within the next 30 minutes to an hour on court number 1 at Wimbledon. What a story that is, at 15 years of age. I like my sport. Have I mentioned that before? I like my sport. And I talk about it a lot because these goal achievement points are there to be seen. so dramatically and so theatrically. And we can see how she got on because we can watch it on television, or we can watch the replay later. So we can actually watch her play and think about that story as we watch her playing Venus Williams, who's won the title 5 times and was coached by her father Richard, and the story there. So I love it. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you watch tennis, if you watch a sport, what you think about Coco Gauff's story and the Venus and Serena Williams and all that kind of stuff. I love your comments and your feedback. Hope all is well with you. I'm signing off to make sure I get to watch the start of the match on time. Wishing you as ever health and happiness, and I'll speak to you again soon.